ATPI, delivering what really matters.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Speed Freaks Chat Show with myself, Scott Nicholls, and the verbal wonder from down under, Childsy, all brought to you by our title sponsors, ATPI Travel. So then, who do we have join us tonight, Mr. C?
Well, a fellow compatriot of mine, a former Australian champion, a former Grand Prix rider, international rider, cutting his things abroad. It's the one and only Troy Batchelor.
Thanks for joining us, Batch.
How you doing?
How are you? Cup's a bit of a giveaway. What's going on there?
Big Daddy.
There you go. Well, you were a little, seed in your daddy's delivery tubes once upon a time. So where do we start? How old were you when you had your first motorcycle?
Before I can remember, probably like most of the kids, probably about 3 though, I think it was. It was, I could ride a motorcycle before I could ride a push bike. I had to still have my stabilizers on and that. But yeah.
Still got the stabilizers now? Or?
Sometimes.
So was it your dad that got you into it? Or have you got older brothers or sisters or anything that are into bikes?
Oh, I'm the eldest, so it was all dad. And I don't really know. Like, he was into bikes himself. But I don't know if he was never good enough to race or could never afford it. He don't really let on. If you ask him, he's like world champion. So
he won't good.
I got one of those dads as well, mate.
He got me like a little Pee-wee 50, like a QR Honda, the red ones, and had a helmet that was too big for me and just bobbling around the field and all that. It's kind of funny to see videos of where it all started, really.
Batch, at what stage did you realise there was danger involved? I remember having a Pee-wee 50 and it was just all fun. At what stage did you realise it's not all fun and you can get hurt? Was it when you got hurt?
Pretty much it's when you stop bouncing. When you're young, you seem to bounce and you kind of made a rubber. I remember bouncing off plenty of fences and just getting up and, Dad being like, come on, walk it off. Like, you're all good and whatnot. But I think you get a bit older and a bit wiser and you start breaking bones and you're like, oh, yeah, it's a bit dangerous, but what do you do?
So was it always speedway or were you into motocross and trials or other stuff as a kid?
So we do a lot of stuff back at home called like dirt track and stuff like that, which is motocross bikes adapted to racing on speedway tracks and left and right hand corners around, all sorts of different tracks. It's kind of the closest thing you can get to speedway, but not speedway. I did that from about 5. I think you're allowed to race. So my first race meeting was when I was 5. Raced that for years. I think I quit that when I was about 16, just before I come to England. But I started speedway in the meantime when I was about 12.
Okay. Do you remember that first meeting?
Not at all, but I remember getting third. I remember getting a trophy, and I was pretty happy about it all.
I remember as a kid with a grass track, I remember before the meeting, everyone would go over to the trophy table, and it was like that was the goal, like to get that. There's always the biggest trophy. So did you have lots of trophies as a kid?
Yeah, we call them dust collectors because that's all they're pretty much good for. But I think my dad's got boxes of trophies. And they're nothing really special. They're just bits of plastic. But, to me at the time, you were like on the podium with like a ribbon and you had a great day and it was great. So, they're pretty expensive, them plastic trophies, really worth thousands.
It's no different now when you look at with what the Speedway experience in New South Wales doing with the youngsters and the smile on the kids' faces when they get a trophy. And obviously you learn that trophies don't pay bills real fast as well. But talking about the dirt track, do you ride on many of the oil tracks? That was a bit of a different thing. It's they put oil down. It's just like a slick sort of asphalt, I guess, isn't it, Batch?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to explain. If you explain to anybody that they just pour oil all over the track over years and years, and that's what we race on, they'd be scratching their head a little bit. But it's actually quite grippy. and we use different tires. We use like road racing tires on it, and it's kind of the closest thing you can get to road racing. So I was never really good at that, to be honest, on the oil. I'm always more about sliding it and, you know, having fun. But on the oil, you had to use the front brake, where I didn't like using the brakes and all of that. So I did do plenty of it. But I don't think I won too much on the oil.
You're quite a dab hand at the long track as well, Batch. I think that was the very first meeting I seen you in Australia. I think I was on the tools for Watto, and there was a long track somewhere. And yeah,
Bathurst?
Yeah, it could have been Bathurst, mate. Yeah, the Bathurst. Yeah, that was an Aussie title, maybe, or a New South Wales title. But you're quite dab on the long track. What you've grown away from that over the years? Any particular reason?
Yeah, like I won a couple of things on the long track, and it's really, really enjoyable. It's like, you know, 100 mile an hour, no brakes. It's kind of, to be honest, when you're on your own, it's better than speedway. But when you're at the back, it
hurts.
Horrible. Like you just leave the track with welts all over you, and like they use the bigger wheels as well, so the roost is more painful. The bikes are going faster. Everything's just more painful. So yeah, it was
hardboard down the old Kevlars.
That's it. I went to New Zealand. My first ever like meeting on a speedway bike, because in Australia you have to be 16 to race. But Ivan got me in the New Zealand World Championship. So my first ever meeting on speedway, like on a 500, I went straight to the long track World Championship in New Zealand, 15 years old. So which is quite funny. So I was like 15 doing 100 mile an hour, but back home they're like, oh, you can't ride a speedway. Sorry, you couldn't even practice speedway. You weren't even allowed to practice. So if I wanted to practice, I had to like secretly hire the track and then tell nobody that we're going to be riding a 500, which is, yeah, it's pretty crazy when you look back on it.
So you don't fancy doing a long track over here and in Europe then?
Wow. You guys do grass track and that looks horrendous to me. That's crazy. Like you see pictures of it and they're like, look like they're out of control, and it just doesn't look fun to me. Long track, you know, that's fun, but grass track is something different again.
Grass tracks, yeah, the long tracks, like in Germany and France and places like that, they're much smoother generally. Same sort of buzz, you know, the same speed that you get from the long track you did in Aussie. But yeah, it's hard, man. It's a lot harder. You say the bigger 22-inch wheels, when that bike bites, it's a beast to handle. So
I couldn't believe they just used to turn up in the UK to a field and mark it out and just go racing.
Mate, that was old school.
Seen anything like it in my life. On the just quickly on the dirt track, Batch, we've seen some really, really good Australian riders go through dirt tracks, road, and end up going to the road. Was it ever a situation for you that the road sort of dabbled its grey, ugly head to get you to the dark side?
Not really. Like I said, I always had that style about me, like where I just wanted to slide the bike, and it kind of came naturally to, you know, that I wanted to slide it, and that's the way I kind of rode. And I remember I was probably about 8 years old, and we went to it's called the Ekka, like the exhibition showground in Brisbane. And, you know, Speedway was pretty big. Like a lot of people maybe don't know it, but you go to the Ekka and there was like 10,000 people there. And I just remember like walking in with my dad and like holding his hand. I'm like, oh, that smells so good. The noise, like they're warming up, and just watching like Crumpy, and like I was just blown away, really, to be honest. And, you know.
But what year were you born?
87.
Right. So when you were 8, that was 95. So you would have went to the Series 500 then.
Exactly. That's what they all were, like the TAP series and that, and the Series 500. So there was like Anthony Casper and like all them guys. I got videos of the 94 and 95 series, I think.
Lee Adams, Ermolenko. Wow.
There was some big names.
Who was the guy that on that series that you were like, did you want to emulate any of those guys? You like, man, like, I want to be like him.
Dave Watt.
Cheers, Hottie. No, just like
did you pick bits out of all of them? You're just kind of blown away by the whole thing.
I was too young to even know. I was standing at the fence getting covered in mud and having a great time. Just, you know, I was just like, oh, I want to do that. And like, I would love to be able to go back and look through my eyes again at that age, just to see the world in you know, the way it was, because it was great.
That's a good analogy, actually. That's really cool to say that. It's weird that you said, and me and Charles, you can relate to, you said you found it natural to go sideways, which is kind of a bit odd to most people that we kind of turn right to go left. Do you remember the first time you ever got the backhand out properly and how it felt? Do you remember that?
Not on a dirt track bike, really, like that. Like I've been racing them since I was like 5 and just progressed all through the ranks on that. But I started junior speedway probably when I was about maybe 11 or 12 or so. So that was like the first time I got a taste for it. And the funny thing is that we didn't even have a speedway track. I was like just riding anywhere I could ride my bike. Like around the dirt track, I was making up a track inside the dirt track. Like, so the track's like 10 meters wide down the straight, and I would just do a circle on that straight. So there was not even a track, and it was just having fun because no one really had junior speedway bikes around where I live. So it was just, I was like, oh, I want to ride, and let's just get me out there.
Well, I never had it before. I had like the junior speedway bike. I had like it was a grass track bike my dad had built for me. I was only about 6 or something. We was in the back garden and it was wet. And I remember that was the first time I ever got the back end out. And I was so proud of myself. And I remember the feeling. I was like, oh, man, I got the back end out. And then some friends came around the next day and I was like, Dad, can I show them? Can I show them? Well, it was dry the next day. Didn't go well. I went like that to get the back end. And it just went straight through the trees into the fence. And oh man, I was in tears. And my dad's like, where you hurt? Where you hurt? And I was like, my bike, look at my bike. I was fine.
At what stage of that, Scott, did you realize you were going to win 7 British titles?
I never did. Never got that feeling. I just realized it hurts when you get it wrong.
Mate, Batch, you talk about the junior program. Obviously, I didn't really get too much to see of the junior program back in the late 90s when I first come over. But obviously, if the sport's going to continue and develop, that's where it is. Have you got much to do with the junior program back home, or you keeping an eye out? Is there anyone that you've seen come through that you thought, this program's working?
Yeah, like I don't get home as much as I'd like to. So it's kind of hard to have too much involvement with things from over here. But I speak to Boise quite a lot, and he tells me about it, and kind of just, it's just great, really. Like, when I started, there wasn't even a track, let alone a program. What happened was my dad actually paid for the track to be built inside like the dirt track and that. He paid for all the dirt and stuff. So then we could have like at least one track, and then we ended up getting a second track. So like near me, I had 2 tracks, and then if I wanted to race somewhere else, it was about an 8-hour drive to the next closest track. So, what they have now and what I see, even the bikes they got now are so much better than what we had. We were all on like backyard made, cut down big speedway bikes. We cut them down so that we could fit on them, and it was just all hack jobs. But from the bikes to the program they got running, it seems I'm kind of jealous, really.
Yeah, but I think it's cool. I was the same. Right? Like my dad chopped old like big bikes down, bent ones, and I think that's cool. Actually, I think you kind of appreciate it more. So when like Childsy said, trophies don't pay for things, but the prize money does. And when you earn that money, and you can start to pay for your own stuff, and I think you have much more sense of like gratitude for it and appreciate where it's come from. There's some good young kids coming through from Aussie at the minute, isn't there? Is there anyone standing out to you at the minute?
James Pearson for me.
Is that to me or is it Childsy?
Well, Childsy did it for you, so.
Yeah, that's right.
He jumped the start. He got nervous like I did at Cardiff.
Scott's done that before.
What was that? Was that the race where he had a run off a bomber, or for to keep in the GP? Or
I missed the start, but I kind of redeemed myself. But no,
didn't he knock you off?
I touched tapes at Cardiff. I think it was the other way around.
Oh. I do remember watching that though. That was like what, 2005, 6, something like that.
Oh,
7.
God, yeah.
No, would have been. Was it 8 or not? Yeah, we spoke about this, didn't we? About how many reruns there were, and that first corner wasn't getting done in any way, shape, or form.
No, we love a restart. Love a restart.
What age batch? Obviously, we fast forward a few years, and you cut your teeth in Australia on man-made tracks and no tracks at all, and you sort of come to the UK as a young spring chicken. At what stage did you think speedway, professional career Or were you a bit blinded by the lights?
Well, like I said, when I was like 8, that's when I first seen Speedway. And ever since like then, I was just like, that's what I want to do. And kind of went through school, kind of not wanting to be there. Still kind of learning, because I was kind of one of them kids that never listened but done really well on the test. Kind of like a know-it-all, my missus calls me. But just kind of went through school, and then I kind of had some contacts with England, and they're like, we think you're good enough for a ride, and we're going to get you here and there. And I was just like, yeah, that's me. Like, I want to do that. And I got a deal done, packed a bike in my bag and just turned up in England. So I turned up with like one bike, 2 engines, flew with like 150 kilos of luggage or something.
New Zealand, baby.
I was like, here I am, let me go. Where's the track kind of thing? 17 years old, like on the other side of the world. So
and where was your first kind of what you'd have called home then when you first came to the UK?
So I signed for Kings Lynn in 2005, and they were like, yep, we'll pay for your flight, we'll, sort you out a van, we'll sort you this. And they're like, oh, we're going to sort you out a place to live and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, sweet, no worries. Like, sounds really good. Like, I couldn't care, like, where if it was going to be a caravan or what, I was just like, get me there. Like, I want to leave. Like, so I turned up, they picked me up, went to the track. We had like a meeting with the mayor, I think that night. And I was like absolutely shattered, falling asleep at this thing. And I met the people that I was going to stay with, went back to their house, fell asleep in the car on the way back, and basically got there, went straight to bed, and woke up in the morning and went downstairs, and they're like, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. Why is everybody keep asking me if you're all right? Like that was kind of my first taste of England. And I soon realized that, that was like how you do it, not how you were all right. But where I lived was on a farm with Roger Warnes and his family, and they had 2 sons, and basically just took me in as one of their own. And I couldn't have ended up in a better place. Like, I was there for a good long time, and they're like my English family, really. So I lucked out on that
sponsor, one. We see the hat, so it's that's really cool. That's actually pretty special.
Oh yeah,
that sort of stories echoed across a lot of us in that batch. There's been some really good tales that come out of it, good friendship, but without these people on the other side of the world, have never met you, who put you up, and I've been put up when me and Watto come over, and it makes the sport a little bit special, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I wasn't sure where I was going to be, but, I lucked out. Like, poor Dooley turned up and ended up in a caravan on an island that miles from nowhere.
He had some good stories to tell.
Definitely. But, like you said, I can't thank them enough. And I really needed the help at that time. We kind of, right as we talk, and we're like, man, like, at the time when you really need the help, it's always hard to get it. But when you're at the top and you're doing really well, people want to throw money at you. They want to throw helmets at you. They want to give you like whatever you need. But you're like, I don't need it now. I needed it then. So, that they're the times where you're most appreciative of it all.
So when you first came over then, a young kind of 17-year-old wide-eyed kid, just learning the expressions, but someone says all right means you go, okay, how you doing? Not like, is there something wrong? You're a well-behaved lad, but there must have been a few little stories along the way that is there any stories that spring to mind that you can share with us?
You only live once. You only live once, Batch.
I think I know what you're hinting at.
Or another one that is maybe more user-friendly?
Yeah, mate, there's so many stories. We've kind of travelled nearly the globe or whatever through Speedway and had a few good times here and there. What's life if you don't enjoy it? So
exactly.
I got plenty of stories.
Is there any of those road trips gone wrong? I mean, I've had a few breakdowns on the way and things like that. So have you got any interesting road trip stories where it's not really gone to plan? I guess you guys have trouble with visas as well. So
yeah, I've had all sorts of trouble with everything. I've got so many stories. I'm just trying to think of something that stands out, really, to be honest. If you're talking about visa issues, I remember like having to like fly back home and race a state championship and then fly back to England. I had to place top 4 in that championship. It's only a state championship, which is still like quite hard, but I had to fly all the way home, 24 hours, drive like 6 hours, race that championship, drive back, fly back, get to the London embassy to renew my visa. But I needed that qualification of top 4 in the state to renew my visa. And also my visa was like basically expiring in a week before I flew out or whatever. And just...
What, did you come 5th, did you?
What's that?
Did you come 5th, did you, Batch?
Come first, mate.
Oh, of course you did.
You're not first, you're last.
Exactly. So we've been like literally chasing stuff around the world to get these visas. And, you know, that ain't the first time, but it is the last because I've now got a British passport, so I don't have to deal with that anymore. Thank
The new British finalist then, Troy Batchelor, is it?
Going up against Rory.
I thought we were going to get a 1-2-3 podium last year nearly, like me, Rory and Crumpy.
It was close, mate. It was close, wasn't it? That's, you know, these stories reminiscent. I know there's another high profile speedway rider from our land that just gone through a big visa issue as well, and it still continues. And it's amazing that we're from the Commonwealth and some of the stuff we've got to go through, mate. And that affects your racing as well. You struggle with things over the years because of stuff going behind the scenes, Batch.
Yeah, don't get me started on the Commonwealth thing. I go to the visa immigration office and I see all the people getting visas that can't even speak English, and I'm like, mate, how are you here? But yeah, it's tough, I guess. In a way, though, like all that we have to go through, whether it's leaving our family or you know, the visas or whatever, it just kind of makes it more determined, and it also takes away the fact that, you know, if you don't do well, mum and dad ain't going to wipe your ass or whatever. Like, so we have to win. Like, we have to, you know, earn money, win races and all that to survive. Like, well, literally where, you know, some of maybe the English guys, you know, they're like, oh, you know, dad's there, dad's mechanic and for free, dad's doing this. You have a bad meeting, dad pats you on the back or whatever, you know, you go home to your mum and dad, and we don't kind of get that. So in a way that kind of makes us better. So, you know, as much as a pain in the ass it has been, sometimes you can either use it for you or against you. And I guess I choose to use it for me.
Definitely. Take the positive out of it. And I think you're right. I think it does make you stronger. It makes you more independent, makes you more determined. You know that, you know, there's a pressure on you. Like you said, you've had a lot of support when you've got here, but a lot of riders aren't that fortunate. I think it makes a massive difference. I think like last year with the Grand Prix and stuff, like Doyle and a few of the boys where they had to be away from their loved ones and be stuck in Poland. I think they're all the factors that go on behind the scenes that people don't always appreciate, but they can make you stronger, definitely.
I think the best part about that, Batch, is when you say that. I going back to when I was on the tours with Watto and you boys start coming over, and all of a sudden you turn up to meetings. There's about 4, 5 or 6 of you blokes all trying to win, and tensions get hotted between some of the Aussies.
Yeah. I don't remember any.
Well, you had a rivalry with Chris.
Yeah, but
and Darcy pulling your kill switch.
Well, I think we're all past all that now. But when we were young and you know, young and dumb, we had that fire, like a lot of fire in our bellies, as you do. And yeah, you got to have that rivalry. I think it probably made us both better, to be honest.
100%. You know, it wasn't in a bad way. It was you blokes needed to win to score points to pay bills, and when you get 4 of you blokes in a race, it's going to get tight.
Right. Well, let's talk about entertainment. So we've covered you as a whippersnapper, and we're starting to move a little bit up to date, and we're going to touch on the more recent stuff in the Bachelor world. But clearly, you're a very talented kid, riding a bike before you can remember. But I think most of you talented guys have to have another secret talent, like a talent with a talent. What do you reckon he can do, Childsy? Anything outside of riding a bike, or is that where it ends?
Troy Batchelor, mate. He's from the Gold Coast, isn't he? Beautiful one day, perfect the next. I reckon he's a surfer.
Yeah, I have the occasional crack on that, but I feel like I don't have anything that would get me to the final on Britain's Got Talent, that's for sure.
None of us do, mate. None of us do.
I was asking my partner what you know, if I got any talent.
We can't go there. We can't do that.
She said well, I can say she said I was a know-it-all.
You got some questions at the end, so we got that one
I can
covered.
I can type without looking. I can touch type, if you know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah. Where'd you learn that, Batch?
I don't know how I can prove it, but basically I learned that in high school because, you do your when you're choosing your subject for for your next year, you go like science, maths, they're all compulsory, and you got to choose like 5 or 6 classes. I can't remember what it was. And I'm like, yeah, woodwork, science, maths, all the ones you have to do, plus woodwork. And I needed one more to do. And I was like, typing, that looks like a blag, like an easy class. So I just signed up for like that. And, you basically go in there and you got the computer. And this was early days. So, it was grade 9 and 10, I think. So whatever, 15, 14. And in them days, it was like dial-up modem and all that. But you basically go in and they teach you how to type like letters and stuff. And like the class was like full of girls. So we were all like, me and my mate signed up like, yeah, this is good, like easy class, girls, all that, But the funny thing is I actually turned out to be pretty good at it. And you have like a thing where you can type a certain amount of words per minute. It was like 60 words a minute or something I could type. And I actually went to like a Queensland typing championship. Honestly, like
What skirt did you wear?
Yeah. But I got the day off school. I got they fed us and that, and I had to have I got to have a bit of fun. So it was pretty good.
You got fed, Batch. You got fed.
You got the day off school. What more could you want?
Or maybe by the wonders of technology, you'll be able to show us some evidence of this finger tapping, and me and Childsy can sit back in amazement at your skill set.
Yeah, you got to send us a video or something.
Send me a video or something to prove it,
and we'll be like,
"Wow, maybe I should give up Speedway." Eh?
Talking about Speedway, Batch, you rode in the Grand Prix, mate. You haven't done too bad, bud.
Yeah, got some proof up there. Yeah, I've kind of been there and done it in some ways, but
you want to go back?
Only if I think I could do some damage. I'm not like, you've been there yourself, and
yeah,
it's hard. It's hard, like financially, mentally, like in every way, really, because you have to be so organized. You obviously want the funds to have the equipment, and you travel all over the world normally, and that costs a lot of money. I don't know if, normal people know the prize money, but it's online, and I think it's been the same for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
A couple of grand.
You've got to make pretty much top 6 to break even within a little.
Yeah, exactly, depending on where you are. And, really you need the sponsors as well to go along with that and things. But also, I don't want to go and make up numbers. It was great to be in there, and I had some fun and some good times, like top 10 in the world. That's an achievement.
Yeah.
But I want to go, if I was to go back, I would be in top form, and I would think I can get something out of it.
I had exactly the same thought, because I know how hard it was, and that's why I walked away and I didn't go back. But so when you went into the Grand Prix, you've just covered a few bases, but was there one thing that you kind of went, man alive, like this is so different to league racing? Because you raced in the top league in Poland where there's a lot of pressure and it's tough, but was there something that you went, Jesus Christ, this is like really hard? And that was something that kind of always stuck with you, and is maybe one of the reasons why, like you just said, that you only go back if you know you can't just make up the numbers?
I would kind of say maybe the toughest thing would be, you race. I was racing so much, Swedish league, English league, Polish league, GP, whatever. It was like my calendar was super busy, which is great. But you go and get smashed on a Saturday night, like you run 17th position or something, and you just like obviously having a nightmare. Not always, but you have a nightmare. Then you've got to go on Sunday and perform at your best, and then Monday, and then Tuesday, and then maybe Wednesday, or get your day off Wednesday, Swindon Thursday. It was just relentless. And sometimes, like, if things aren't going good, they ain't going good 7 days a week, because you're like racing all them days and you're struggling at all of those meetings or something, and you're like, oh my God, like, but if you're flying high and you're having a great run, that week is awesome. Yeah. So it's kind of tough to, produce the goods and
So it feels like a mental aspect of it then.
Just, yeah, I would say mentally tough at that time, like for me. Maybe now it's a bit different because a lot of the guys are just doing, Poland and the GP, and they can't get enough meetings at the moment. Whereas before I had too many and I was like, I wish I could pick and choose. But obviously you can't really do that, can you? But yeah, probably just a mental thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's some riders that like to be busy, and we go back to Jason Doyle, who loves to be busy. And then the fad come around where it was just Poland and GPs, or Sweden, Poland and GPs at a push. Was it a baptism of fire? And do you think we'll always see people struggle on qualifying for the GPs and not making the top six? Do you think the qualification path one is right for GPs at the moment, or do you think it's too hard to stay in there in your first year?
Top six is a pretty big ask, I would say. But you pretty much know that 7th and 8th are probably going to get a wild card anyway. So, maybe, or I would say more the qualification system needs a shake up, which probably most people might agree with, because, you go to all these tracks that we don't even race on a day-to-day, and they might only race that one meet in there a year. It's like a GB qualifier round, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, whatever it may be. And you see good riders get knocked out in the first round when you're like, mate, they're good enough to be in the GP, but they don't. And you see other people get through and you're like, you're just banging your head on the wall. It's so tough, like the qualification system, like to get 3 spots out of that. And then, 4th, 5th, 6th, they used to be reserves and stuff as well, where they no longer are. It's kind of all handpicked. So to qualify into the GP without being picked is like ridiculously hard.
Speedway is a massive mental battle, and you've just said you're very fortunate and you proudly got the race jack up there displayed that you were in the Grand Prix. It's a huge achievement, but it is tough and there are lots of pressures and things do go wrong. Has there ever been a time in your career where you've kind of considered whether this is what you actually really want to do, or is it always, there's never been any doubt, it's just right, I'm having a crap time, let's just push on?
No, there's been plenty of, I don't know if you call them bad moments or down moments, but the highs are high and the lows can be low. So, you're sitting there with a busted arm and, the doc's like, oh, you're out for 4 months, 6 months, whatever it may be. And you're just like, oh, do I really want to do this anymore? And like I actually had, with my last broken arm, I broke it on motocross, not speedway, but I had nerve damage from the operation and I couldn't move my hand for like 3 months. And I was just seeing like, oh, is that it? Like, I didn't even have a choice in it. I was just like, oh, is this going to be it? Like, and one of my friends had the same thing happen to him like 10 years earlier, and that finished his career. So it was something kind of close to home, and it's just like, oh, I don't know, but I still keep coming back. So it must be something about it a lot.
But mate, you have those lows, and you highlighted earlier, you're on your own. So you've got a family, you've got your close friends, you've made a new family, so to speak. But there's nothing like having, whether it's your parents or your brother or sister or like a mate from school there to kind of put their arm around you and go, come on, mate, you'll be all right. It's all going to happen. So, I think, like you said, when you have those lows, I think sometimes for you boys that have come over from Aussie and the States and places like that, where you are pretty much the other side of the planet, I think it makes those lows a damn sight lower.
Yeah, definitely. We are a long way from home, and we're generally only here for one reason, and that's to race speedway. So when you're injured and you're here, you're like, what am I doing here? Well, might as well go home, kind of thing. And
you're enjoying the weather.
You just question everything when you're injured. Generally, you're like, that's it, I'm quitting. And then the next day, you're like, maybe not, but you still hate it. And then, it kind of, as the days go on, things kind of get better and you get a bit happier. And the doc's like, oh, you're healing well. And you're like, oh, maybe I'll have a go. And, it is tough, but it's also part of it. There's nothing, probably no sport that has no injuries, unless you play maybe snooker or something, but it's not for me.
Oh, no, you can get a sore thumb in snooker.
Splinters are terrible.
Oh, yeah. Talk about injuries as well. It happens to the very, very best, and sometimes it's not your own fault. Niels Christian Iversen famously last year taken out of the practice with Bartosz Marslik. So it's a tough sport at the best of times, mate, and there's injuries going around already this year. But hopefully you stay injury-free, mate.
I'm looking forward to some more meetings and happy to be back underway with fans in the stadium and all of that. It is good to be back.
Keeping on the positive vibe, obviously, we've just come out of, we're not come out, we're coming out of the whole COVID scenario.
Are you coming out, did you say, Scott?
Come on, darling. But,
Brighton.
Easy. Don't knock it till you tried it. Threw me there, Childsy. Threw me.
Go on, we're coming out again, Scott. Go on.
Oh, yeah. Out of lockdown.
Hottie too, Hottie.
So we're coming out of COVID. Like yourself, missed a whole year of racing. It's been tough. It's been a mental battle. It's been a financial battle. It's been an awful lot of things. Now we're, fingers crossed, racing again. Like I said, with crowds, it's amazing. But there's always a positive you can take somewhere along the line. So is there any positives you can take from the whole COVID situation, or anything that's happened in your life that you go, do you know what? It's actually been a bit of a blessing that I wasn't racing my bike 3, 4, 5 times a week.
Yeah, like you said, you can kind of take it positive, or you can take any situation and turn it how you want to, really. So, the best thing to be is positive, because if you're not, it's been a hard year for you, I'm sure. But, it was kind of good to start with. Everybody was at home finishing all them jobs and doing them things that they're like, oh, I'll do that later. But, they actually had the time to finish a few things. I built a shed and all that. And my partner was actually pregnant, and we had a young boy in 17th of September. So thank you.
Congrats.
So yeah, that's what the daddy mug's all about. Yeah, so I got to spend a lot of time with him and still spending time with him. And one thing I don't want to do is, miss anything, because you can't get that back. No amount of money or whatever can take that back. And I, for one, don't want to miss anything, and I want to be there as much as I can for him.
So you feel that's already there's like an instant love and a bond when you become a dad. And so did you feel like an instant change and kind of assessing things differently almost straight away?
Yeah, it's like, everyone's like, oh, you're going to have a baby. Wait till you do this and it changes your life and this. And you kind of, it's not that you don't believe him, but you're like, oh, okay, like I'm not very sensitive or
you're just being soppy,
feelings or whatever. But
give us a hug, Batch.
I bawled my eyes out.
I've just come out.
Oh yeah, I like when my son was born, we had a bit of trouble and couldn't get him out, and she was pushing like for however long, and he was stuck, and we had to go into theatre and push him back and take him out the sunroof, and I was like panicking and like no sleep because we went in there at like midnight, and he was born at midday the next day. And like normally it's me on the operating table and her kind of with me, and I'm used to it and it's all under control and it is what it is kind of thing. But when it was the other way around, I was just like panicky and like I didn't know what to do, because obviously there's nothing you can do for them apart from let the doctor do what they do. And yeah, I like bawled my eyes out when he was born, honestly, and it was great. I love it, and we're having a ball.
Congrats,
mate.
Man.
Your social media says that as well. Abby posted some great stuff of you on your skateboard and going for walks, mate. It's they're big memories in your life. And geez, man, I got a daughter turning 18 next month.
Keep her away from Speedway.
I told her we're going to Walkabout. I'll be there with the glow sticks. Right, let's get some questions, Scotty. What do you reckon?
Let's do it. I reckon. So, you said you're a bit of a know-it-all, Batch. So, we're going to see how much of a know-it-all you really are, aren't we? So,
know about yourself, anyway.
Yeah, you should answer.
The first one, Batch, is the classic snog, marry, avoid. So, we're going to give you 3 names. You got a snog one, marry one, and avoid one. And we're going down the route of Australia. So, I hope you know these beautiful young women. So the first one's, of course, our Princess Kylie Minogue, Nicole Kidman, and Rebel Wilson. Snog, marry, avoid.
Rebel Wilson?
Hold
on,
mate. I'd go for marry on that one.
Yeah.
Should I? Hold on, I'm on Google.
He's going to Google.
I'm glad to see you taking it serious.
Well, I don't want to marry her.
Oh God, she's been loads of. Oh, she was in
Rebel Wilson. Yeah. For Amy.
There you go, for Amy.
Yeah. I think that was a trick question. You were trying to set me up with one, weren't you?
Yeah. So
you're marrying Fat Amy.
Yeah. What was it? I'm avoiding Fat Amy, and I'll probably marry maybe Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, that's my boy. Yeah.
I'll
And
be
give old
ready,
Kylie
mate.
a snog.
Right then. So we know you've had your issues with visas and stuff like that, which means you've obviously been on the Iron Bird an awful lot, and you've been up in the sky a fair amount. But have you ever joined the Mile High Club?
Ooh. Have you guys ever flown Ryanair? You don't even get space for your knees, let alone anything else. And I
Be
reckon
cozy then.
I reckon they'd probably charge you for the Mile High Club.
I didn't know Ryanair flew to Australia.
Well, they probably do.
Now, tell us about your first class trips. Surely you fly first class back to Ozbatch.
Yeah.
GP boy and all.
Don't we all? I think the best we've been is business class, and that was because we like blagged a deal at the desk. Like that's it. That's as good as it gets.
Like to hear it.
Acronyms. What does BSPA not stand for? Batch?
You can be a little bit edgy if you want to.
I should have.
No, that's a B. Putting you on the spot here, aren't we?
Big Scotty puts it about.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Only in Brighton.
Got to try it.
Oh, okay. All right, then. We've been on the women's scene. Who was your first celeb crush? Who was a little batch into as a young'un?
Oh, I didn't discover girls till I was about 13. So
Then you made up for lost time.
yeah, I think Britney Spears. She was
With the
one.
pigtails?
Mine was Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Oh,
I know what
wasn't
you
it?
did last summer. Yeah. I think
Oh,
she still does it for me now.
Kim Wilde when I was young.
You are old. What's better, Batch? Sex or winning a race?
Sex every time.
Yeah, because like me, you don't win many races.
Oh, shots fired.
Oh,
Shots fired.
right. We'll keep it simple now then, Batch. Socks in bed, yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
you've been one of the first.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wow.
everyone says no to that.
But normally, me and my partner have a thing that if she leaves her socks on, that's the signal.
Okay.
Normally it's no, but if she's got them on, then you know.
So you're letting us into your fetishes now. Let's move on quickly.
Yeah. Is it okay to wee in the shower, Batch?
Every time.
No hesitation.
Typical.
Okay, we're going to get a little bit sentimental here. Are you scared of anything? If you are, what are you scared of?
Oh, I'm not good with heights. I'm
Okay.
pretty scared of heights, to be fair.
No bungee jumps for you then?
I'll still have a crack, but it's just something like if I'm up high on a ladder, I'm like, oh no, I don't like it. It's just not about it.
Yeah, I got the same in buildings. I always just picture what would happen if the building collapsed, and it just winds me up. What am I doing up here? I hate it, man. Same. Absolutely hate it. But I'll do bungee jumping because I think that's not being high. That's like you're doing a sport. So
It's the adrenaline rush.
I like the mental edge there.
are you a texter or a caller, Batch? Text or call?
Text. I'm not very good at answering my phone. Sometimes, you're doing well to get a hold of me, and
I found that out.
I'll reply. Sometimes I reply like 2 weeks later. I'm terrible, man. Honestly, you either get me like when I've got the phone in my hand. If you message me, I'm straight back. If I ain't got it, I might get to my phone, got 3 messages, and I'm like, I'll get back to them whenever I've got time.
We must have got lucky then.
Two
definitely
weeks,
got
he
lucky.
says. 2 weeks, he says. Hang on a sec.
I replied to you, mate.
There's a brilliant one as well. Set a benchmark.
Right then. So to round the end of the show, questions off, Batch, we have got the little dodgy dice, the tongue twister roulette. So we've got 6 of them for you, mate. At number 1, we've got pheasant plucker. Number 2 is puggy wuggy. Number 3 is fig plucker. Number 4 is sock cutter. Number 5 is mother hunt. And number 6 is Susie sitting. So is there any of them there that kind of you're thinking you don't want to do?
No.
No, you're confident with all of them.
He'll have a crack at all of them.
Am I supposed to check my phone now? Or?
No, we're going to send it to you. We're going to send it to you.
Wait to the dice roll first. Roll the dice.
We're going to roll the dice and we're going to see what you get. So, as you're very confident and you're not really worried what you're going to get, we are rolling down. So, the dodgy dice have stopped and we have got number 2, Puggy Wuggy. So, right now, check your phones. I'm now going to ping it over to you. And then see what we got.
Straight into it, Batch. Read it out, buddy.
Am I supposed to read it fast or?
Yeah. As fast as you can. Yeah, that's the fun of it.
I'm ready. Mrs. Puggy Wuggy has a square cut putt. Not a punt cut square, just a square cut punt. It's all round in the stern and blunt in the front. Mrs. Puggy Wuggy has a cut punt.
Not bad. Let's give it one more go. Let's see if you can flash it.
I saved it at the end.
You did. You redeemed yourself. Let's give it one more go.
Oh, God.
One more.
Mrs. Puggy Wuggy has a square cut punt. Not a punt cut square, just a square cut punt. It's round in the stern, blunt in the front. Mrs. Puggy Wuggy has a square cut punt.
Maybe we shouldn't have gone to do it a second time.
Right, Batch. If I tell you what, he's just putting that in with his speed typing, isn't he? He's blind typing.
I'm good with the tongue and the fingers, mate.
Well, there you go. There you go. At least you got a career when you retire from Speedway. Anyway, well, Batch, it's been awesome having you on, mate. Thank you very much for joining us. And anything you want to say, Childsy?
Oh, mate, just what an insight. I think we set out to find out what makes guys do what they do, and there was a couple of things in there that was really amazing, Batch. And on behalf of a lot of people, mate, you've had an awesome career up until now, and I hope it continues as long as you and Abby want to make it happen, mate. And I hope the rest of the season goes well for you. You're a dead set superstar. Not many people can say they finished 10th in the world in their chosen sport. So we'll see where you get to this year with the Sheffield Tigers.
Thank you very much.
Anyway, to all you viewers out there, thanks for watching. All brought to you by ATPI Travel. See you next time.
ATPI, delivering what really matters.